Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 337. Let's see who shows up. Alright, I can't remember which of these we drafted most recently, so let's do the old method of just pulling it up on the site. So let's see real quick. Trundle, Gangplank, Hecarim. Let's see. Trundle. 331? Uh-oh, I think it's going to be Gangplank. Gotta type these real good. Oh, Gangplank about one. And then what was the last one? Hecarim. It's probably Hecarim. Whoever drafts Hecarim. Maybe we can get him paired up with Azir, though. That would be a interesting little pairing. We get 301. All right, Hecarim, you're the big winner. And so this is the Shadows and Dust Hecarim. It's meant to be an ephemerals build around, and so you have Hecarim over here on the Shadow Isle side. These various ways to generate ephemerals like Onslaught of Shadows and Haunted Relic, and then there's things like Shark Chariot as your build around. It's meant to pair up with Zed, and then Zed is the kind of premier way to put an ephemeral onto the board. And so, what we tend to see out of this deck, though, is you really just want to have Zed and turn into a Sparring Student Zed deck. That was, before Sparring Student really found his maker with Azir. The Sparring Student deck with Zed was pretty powerful, but that's all we really have going on here. We used to look to make a kind of control Hecarim build around to where we would just try to play Hecarim over and over again through the likes of either copying him with the 6 mana Ionia dude or Spectral Matron, or putting additional copies of him into play with like Shadows and Dust and with the Rekindler. It's just not quite as good as it was. When there was only 1 or 2 sets in the game. Hecarim is not the powerhouse he was when the game initially came out, and I think it's just a matter of power creep. The Spectral Riders did used to be 3/2s, and then Hecarim, there was a time where he costed like 5, and he's been like a 4/5 and a 5/5 across time. He's just not that spectacular anymore, but he's like right on the cusp of being able to jam a bunch of copies of into your deck. And so we'll just pull up the pool real quick on the site and then move on and see what kind of direction we get ourselves into. We typically don't actually build around Hecarim, but we'll see. And so yeah, like as we kind of mentioned, there's a bunch of ephemeral generators like Haunted Relic, Onslaught of Shadows. There's some ways to get additional ephemerals, like in the Epic Land with the likes of Spectral Matron and the Harrowing. But that's kind of like piece number one. The payoff to that would either just be getting a bunch of Shark Chariots going, so you attack with some of those ephemerals and get more ephemerals out of it, or just using the Neverglade Collector Blighted Caretaker combo as the means to kill off a bunch of your kill off a bunch of your units, and then dome your opponent's face with it. And so we'll see. We'll see what plays out here. But Hecarim it is. Okay, and so it is kind of interesting here. There's, like I mentioned, that classic pairing with Zed and trying to copy your units. It's just, again, like my problem with this Enlightenment Karma is, number one, we need like something to build around. I always want a champion to build around, and Karma is just not it. Like at the end of the day, like my problem with Karma and Expedition is like Glimpse Beyond twice doesn't do anything. Onslaught of Shadows twice isn't really worth the effort to waiting until turn 10. And so if we're gonna like think of some spells that are in that Hecarim card pool that are really worth casting twice, what's it gonna be? Like the Harrowing? Like that's not really worth anything. And so it's just not a really worthwhile thing to be chasing down. And then similarly over here with Quinn, we could look towards a Relentless Pursuit. Hecarim plays fantastically with Relentless Pursuit, getting these Spectral Riders multiple times, but I don't think this is going to be like a real deck here. There's just not any way to take advantage of the ephemerals. And so that does bring us down here to this Slayers Nasus, which, I am kind of interested in pairing up Hecarim with Shurima. I would prefer that other champion be Azir, but, if we're looking to get Hecarim going and really build up to his flip, then something like Emperor's Diaz or the various Sand Soldier generators would work out pretty well. Azir would work out well. Attacking, if we're looking to do the attack multiple times things, then the Shark Chariots can really work out. And so I think this will work out pretty reasonably. So let's get Nasus pulled up as well. The big thing, with Nasus, you're always looking for, as far as being paired with Shadow Isles, is just the single card combo of Atrocity. It's not that hard to get your Nasus up like a 10-10 or a 12-12 and just easily be able to dome your opponent off with one Atrocity. So we will be looking for that. Just otherwise in this card pool has the big vulnerable package that we're always looking for out of Shurima. It's got the Exhaust, the Rockhopper, the Ruthless Predator. As far as rares go, there's Bakai Sandspinner. I do not know if not Ruthless Predator, whatever the new like 4/3 Fearsome for 3 is called. I don't know if that lives in this card pool or not, but that's really how you round out the interactive package here. And so we will be looking for some kind of meteor units in the early game to take advantage of these vulnerables, and then I think we can still look to build towards the ephemerals in some kind of way. So there's not a whole lot of ephemerals here in this card pool. Again, it all lives over with Azir, but if we're going to take a peek at the Azir, we're looking at the likes of Sandcrafter and Doomkeeper generating Sand Soldiers. Desert's Wrath kind of makes them, and then Emperor's Diaz is the big one to kind of keep the ephemerals rolling. So sounds good to me. I think we can probably pull something off here. I'm gonna look at this in the sense that the number one thing I want to do is find some ways to generate ephemerals, and then after that, I just want to kind of get some meteor units. We'll have to see if we do fall over into the Slayers pool. The thing with Slayers is it tends to be a big fading icon, Cursed Keeper kind of build around, and so if that's the way that we're going to achieve our vulnerable attacks, then we will want to find these fading icons. But in general, these cards are all horrible here. We don't want multiple Rite of Callings really. We're not going to be playing landmarks. Stirred Spirits is kind of the activator for this, and so I'd rather this just be an Emperor's Diaz. But then also, if we don't have any Shark Chariots, then we don't get a whole lot of value out of the Stirred Spirits. And so I do feel okay going ahead and just snatching up an Atrocity right here from the start. Usually prefer it to be a little bit later in the trial, but I think this is okay. And all right, interesting little decision here. I think, from a deck building standpoint, Blighted Caretaker is fantastic. Does, both things our deck is looking to do, Blighted Caretaker does. This gives us the Slayers theme to, play off of Fading Icon, get the Slays, and then it also plays to the Hecarim theme by generating the two saplings. But I can't decide if I'm more interested in picking up the Bakai Reaper with the Exhaust. It's just a premier combat trick or removal spell, if you will, out of Exhaust along with the Bakai Reaper. I think these are where we're going to have to take this. And so let's take the Reaper here. This game does really lack in the early game plays as the we got to find a way to get some vulnerable attacks in and not have our unit die, and so Exhaust is a great way to do that. But here it does turn out Merciless Hunter is in Slayers. I wasn't sure if this was only going to be in the Challengers card pool, but this is a very easy take. This is kind of the premier Shurima card out of the new set. Okay, and then not too interesting here. This would be our last chance to take Ionia. There was a sparring student in the previous pack, but I don't think it's really worth branching out into a third faction for that. And so here it's basically, do we want a Black Spear or do we want the Rekindler? And given that we have the two expensive champions and we can kind of slow the game down into a more control-y style deck, happy enough to pick up the Rekindler here. Okay, so this one here, it's a fairly easy set of 2 removal spells. Again, the big thing is, I want to say now is we're clearly not doing this Shark Chariot, Sand Soldiers kind of thing, this Hecarim build around, and so let's just get that out of our heads. We're going to be a Slayers control deck is what this is going to amount to, and so we are going to want to go ahead and pick up the removal spells here. And so what we're going to look now is we really need to find a bunch of these Fading Icon, Cursed Keeper kind of cards. This is one of the things that will... The way I try to describe this, I see this come up a lot where people don't necessarily agree with me on the early game plays here. I feel like if you have an early game where you just draw a whole bunch of like fading icons and cursed keepers and hapless aristocrats, that's fine. It can be, a little bit underpowered, but it's not the end of the world. But the way that these decks like really fall apart are where we have all of these draws to where we don't draw any of those, and then we have these hands full of like Blighted Caretakers and Spirit Leeches and Chronicler of Ruins, and nothing to target with it. And so, it's turn 4. The only units in your hand are Blighted Caretaker and Spirit Leech. Like, what do you do? You're in quite a bad spot. And so, I really want to make sure that I have the enablers as opposed to just picking up the payoff, and then just kind of assume that the payoff will come my way. So we'll see. It looks like neither of those cards really want to be showing up here today, but here we've got a 2-drop for the early game along with a collector. And the start spirits, it's not that spectacular here, but the things that you can kind of do with these, especially when we're playing a bunch of vulnerable cards, is we can give the prey bonus attack so that we can have like a 2-attack challenge into something, or we can say give our 3/2 Bakai Reaper +2 attack and then like take down a 6-drop or something. And so you can really attack up in the places to where you're just going to be trading anyways, and then it's also useful in the sense that if you're boosting an ephemeral that's just going to die. And so he has a lot of utility here. It's not like a super strong card, but it's definitely not bad. And I'm good to double up on the same pack here. I don't think we're like control-y enough to want to be taking the Wanderer Grasp, and then the Neverglade Collector makes up for a lot of the life gain lost here as well. And so nice little pickup. Always love me a Neverglade Collector here. Okay, and then interesting pack. We have a removal spell and Siphoning Strike, and then either the double early game package of Butcher Bark Beast. And this one's pretty close because the Naturalist is so bad, but the Siphoning Strike is just so much better than both of these cards. Where does our removal stand here? We have the 1 Vengeance. The Withering Wail doesn't quite count. Got Weight of Judgment, so we're at like 2 real removal spells. And then as far as our vulnerables go, we just have 1, 2. So we are kind of light on removal here. This one's close. We had more like fading icons and stuff. I would just definitely snatch up the Butcher Bark Beast, but I think I'm gonna take the removal spells. Okay, this one looks pretty good. It sucks to pass on the Blighted Caretakers again, but I do place the extremely high value onto the fading icon. Okay, so another interesting set. You get the double removals in the Siphoning Strike Ruthless Predator, or the single better removal in Exhaust plus a kind of card advantage card in Spirit Leech. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Leech. We don't have a whole lot of these draw 2s. I do like to have 2 or 3 draw 2s, and so having our first Spirit Leech feels pretty good here. I don't like stacking Siphoning Strikes because I always feel like at some point in the trial it's going to be like, hey, let's trade away this Withering Wail for a Crumble, or let's trade away this other card you don't want for another Vengeance. And it's not like super hard to come by these removal spells given the card pools that we're in. Here, we've got a Hapless Aristocrat. That's a pretty easy take. Okay, another interesting one. We have the Merciless Hunter, just, absolutely fantastic unit. Pretty tough to ever want to pass these up. But then we also have the Cursed Keeper over here. So it's, do we want, the Merciless Hunter or the Cursed Keeper more? And this is kind of tough. I think I am just going to take the Cursed Keeper. We're looking like okay with these early game vulnerables, and kind of what I imagine will happen here. I don't know what champions are going to show up. It's going to show us a Hecarim and a Nasus, but if we get shown a Renekton, then that's definitely who we'd want to be taking over the next 2 packs, the next 2 champions. But it may show us a Kindred, which is not as good. And so I just kind of imagine if we get shown Renekton, we're really going to want these Cursed Keepers, and then if we don't, we'd rather have the Hunter. But I'm going to take the Cursed Keeper here. Right, and then we can trade out the Quicksand for the 3rd Collector, which really just kind of like seals up our late game, which I think this looks pretty good. We're getting a little spell heavy as it is. I want to keep the 2 Sacrifice outlets, so yeah, feels good. All right, so let's go. Let's see. We wanted to draft the Shark Chariots, but that deck just did not make an appearance. So let's see if we have any common units we can upgrade. Shurima. Don't think any of these are going to be in our deck. Nope. We managed to avoid all these real turds. Except, excuse me, Darkwater Scourge used to be more of a beast, but I think he's gotten removed from Expedition. Haven't seen him in a long time. So here, we can do the Glimpse Beyond or the Weight of Judgment. Let's just go ahead and level up the removal spell. Get that little circle out there, and maybe we'll tilt an opponent as they face down our sweet package of removal spells. Okay. Karma and Teemo, the old Total Recall package. So, something like this should be fine. If you want to dream up some wonderful scenarios here, he can play Teemo on the first turn and hit, and we can exhaust Curse Keeper into Teemo on turn 2. It's not that bad, right? I guess it's not the best. Curse Keeper doesn't trade out in that scenario, so it could definitely be better. I don't know if I want it to end like this now. We don't have a lot of great answers to Teemo other than just slamming units into him. But let's see if opponent spends this mana here. If we don't have to worry about a Mystic Shot, I'll feel a lot better about this.
We don't want any trouble.
So yeah, our Cursed Keeper won't flip. There is always the argument that, we should have just played Stirred Spirits, but kind of the flip side of this is, if opponent has the removal spell, then the Cursed Keeper is just better, right? Because it's going to turn into the bigger unit. So even if it was like in the middle of combat that we play the Exhaust and then try to hook his Teemo, I think this feels good. Now, this spot is a little awkward. I don't really want to have to Ruthless Predator one of these turds, but I guess kind of is what it is. I want to get going on board here. I guess like we technically could have just like passed it back to him, but then if he repasses back to us, such a horrible spot to be in. This is fine. Clump.
Wrap him up tight.
So we can pick and choose who he wants to throw in front of the Stirred Spirits. Figured it would be the Clump. This is okay. If we really want to, we can quicksand down the Shadow Assassin. I don't think that's really in the cards, but we have options to deal with this thing if we want.
Officer J.S. Hawklaw, Unit 6.
Here's the big boy. Pony up, bruh. So it makes me want to like take this turn to end with the 3 spell mana. So if we can like get out of this turn with just Weight of Judgmenting something, like if he plays a Usari here, then we get to hit it with Weight of Judgment, and then go into our next turn with the 3 mana for Quicksand plus Hecarim. I think this is pretty good. Happy enough to trade off either of our units for his Veteran Investigator. Pretty on board with this. Interesting, he Poro Cannons and discards his Mushroom Cloud. Okay. Gonna try to get us with Elusives. I mean, we don't really need to be protecting Hecarim here. This seems fine. It's like I do always like preach this strategy against Teemo to where you do just want to keep your health total as high as possible, because you tend to just have a better board than them in the late game. But it feels like you don't have to quite worry about Teemo as much when you know he only has 1 copy and that copy's dead.
Observe and learn. Nothing alive to my side. I'll recite your rights.
Suspected these 4/3s were going to fall, but it does really protect our Hecarim for future turns if he's going to try and take down our smaller units. That seems fantastic for us. getting him into atrocity range. Bit short. We could maybe pull off a siphoning strike into atrocity. He's at 7. That would take Hecarim up to 7.
There was a little fella
Maybe.
asking for me.
We'll see.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
Okay, so we need to add like something. I think our Hecarim's probably safe, but I want to get the 2 blockers on board first. This really dissuades him from attacking, and then hopefully we can get a good siphoning strike here. Do always have the option to say like exhaust something and then attack Hecarim into it, but may not be necessary. It's going to be 1 short either way if we turn him into a 7. Since you can't have a 0 health unit, so. I do want to hit just one of these smaller ones though. It's tougher for him to just get out of this, right? If we say Siphoning Strike his Puffcap Peddler and then he has a Twin Disciplines to give it 6 health, that's kind of a disaster as far as his Siphoning Strike is concerned. So I think this is good. I really think the extent of his turn is just going to be playing the 2 Mushroom Clouds. But this other Peddler as well, he didn't play the one where you recalled.
When tribe calls, a reply is proper.
Okay. Oh, gotta push the button. I got the 0 cost spell in our hand. Okay, beautiful. Kill an ally. Let's go ahead and draw Nasus. I don't think we're actually going to want to play him, but go ahead and see if we can pick it up or get him to play a Death Ray or something here. That 12/12 dog. Okay, we can also just Vengeance whatever he puts in front of Hecarim. We got all the options.
Just looking out for the public.
Beg your pardon?
The way he ever gets out of this, he could get out of it with a like a Will of Ionia.
Would a mushroom help?
Yeah, I think I'd rather just make the atrocity play. See how low he taps down.
Have a mushroom. Have 3. Lady Elise, where are
I do
you?
kind of feel like if he had the Homecoming, he would have just played it already. But I'd still like to see him tap to like 3 mana.
There they go.
Okay. So once he plays this Peddler, we'll be good to Atrocity. Really not play it? Okay. Alright, I guess we'll wait a turn on it. I don't see how he's ever going to win this game. I thought he was going to play the Peddler and then play the Mushroom Cloud just to get the big pile of puff caps going.
And I thought there was something good to see.
Wait, let's not get overly clever here. I'll at least wait till combat so we can block this stuff, but yeah, we are quite. It's a kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. We're really in a spot to get aced by a get excited here, but I mean, if our Hecarim dies, we can just rekindle her back next turn. watch all the animations.
Minding details is my duty.
It's the one.
Run away, Mike!
That's what I expected.
Face death.
Please, I have connections!
No gotchas, please. Hey. Hey, we did it. I was a little worried. I mean, we probably should have just done it the turn before and accepted that if he like homecoming, we'd have had a problem. But that's ultimately pretty scary to see it shape up like that. If he doesn't have the homecoming, then or, I mean, if he does have it, we're like so super far behind. Like, with him returning his 1 cost, bouncing our 6, and then canceling our 7 cost spell. But here, we didn't get the Renekton show up, so let's take the Nasus. Right, off we go. Stack up these dogs, I guess. And not a huge fan of just playing a whole bunch of Nasus, but I mean, he does flip into Siphoning Strike, so it's better than Hecarim, like flipping into Onslaught of Shadows. I could see something like this working out. It's a little unfortunate with Weight of Judgment that it's not strong enough against like a high-powered champion like Tahm Kench, but we'll see. We'll find the means to deal with those.
Forgetting is death to an immortal. For their hubris.
Bad little curve, but something to do after this turn. Getting them chunked down, you know. When you have the Nasus Atrocity combo, you're able to get your opponent down to like 12. It's a pretty reasonable kill. Can play to a late game. Let's just go ahead and get the trade.
No place for men.
Yeah, 1 Slay.
There can be no justice, only revenge. The guilty will suffer.
Nothing we can do about that. Go for this post-combat
Propagating quietly appetite.
Siphoning Strike if we want. How scared are we of Tahm Kench? Don't currently have an answer to him. I think I'm probably more worried about the Callista. Will I pick a unit? Make our dog a little bit bigger.
You will serve through me.
What do we think about trying to send in an attack here?
Appetizers of plenty.
It's like we can just try and slam in for like 5 damage. It is kind of awkward when we have the when he has the ability to tick up his Tahm Kench trying to take down a prey, but it's a pretty low value target. This is fine. We're just going to get ourselves another Slay.
Let your story shine.
Kind of know what we're getting ourselves into if he wants to play Acquired Taste.
Come on in.
Onward forever.
Okay, no support. Wants to like block and take something down and have a combat trick. It's kind of scary, but we'll have to see what we can do here. We don't have a lot of answers for this Tahm Kench. Okay.
This establishment
Doesn't
fair.
seem like he's probably going to have a lot of heals here. Usually don't want to be dabbling with Shadow Isles near Tom Kench. Well, I guess he maybe first pick Callista into Tom Kench. Not sure how he went about this.
Death becomes you.
If we get the Slay here, we could try to just take him down with the Rampaging Bakai.
This cursed life is now my penance.
Pretty big mana investment he had to make. It's not like we're getting back a really good unit, but he did just invest a ton of mana into this board.
That egg. Did it
I
move?
don't think we're gonna Weight of Judgment anything, so we'll just add the Aristocrat forward.
The mortals know what awaits them. Few
Alright.
know what death and eternity.
Let's make this magic happen. This dog's about to get some stuff done. Oh no, I can't spend my whole turn just playing Vengeance. Turns out you can, my man. Nice, so we'll get a pretty good attack here. If he wants to line up this block of Chronicler of Ruin into our Bakai Reaper, that's completely okay. Gonna get bombed for damage if that's his line. Really can't be playing for value here, but I guess he would have taken the same amount of damage either way. He blocks our 3-2, then it just puts the Slay onto our other unit.
Sacrifice for a greater cause.
Errol.
If I'm forgotten, then no.
It's a ephemeral Doom Beast.
Arda's gonna make a meal of them.
We should have done this the other way. I should have put it on the remitter so we couldn't block our Merciless Hunter. I don't think it's going to matter, but a little less sloppy. Let's just prevent it. There's not a whole big difference between boosting like a fading icon to take down Errol and then boosting one of these other smaller units. This.
This round's on me.
Mortals beware.
The boost talk.
We also have the Withering Whale we could use to clean up this board. Let's do it like this.
I must be known.
No, I thought we were going to have Errol in range to kill, but we were 1 damage short there. Didn't matter, but my mathematics were about as good as they always are. Ugh. Go somewhere else to learn how to do basic arithmetic. Okay, so we can come in and pick up the Shark Chariot, but not particularly interested in that. I don't want to trade out our Aristocrats or our Icons, so we'll just go ahead and skip over this one. Yeah, Azir and Renekton. Okay. Tempted to hang on to like one collector. I know it's expensive, but these like should be pretty good against tokens, especially when we're on the odd attacks. Like they have a tough time interacting with this thing because it's so big. And then the drains are pretty important in just making sure that we stay alive. I think this is okay. I'm usually not a big fan of hanging on to 5-drops, but I think this matchup may be a slight exception here.
Hang on, Buzzball.
We play Withering Wail. We can keep playing units and then just play it on 4. Say he's not excited about throwing Sparring Student into our Fading Icon.
Arda's gonna make a meal of them.
Not sure if I like this now. If we hooked it on the Sparring Student, we have some opportunities to kill, but now if he like plays a unit before combat, we can't do anything about it. Okay. Wow, seems real positive. Give our Mask Mother Ephemeral from the Spectre Riders. It's a pretty good combo.
They'll never see me coming. Catch me if you can.
The masks they wear tell their tale.
Not real excited about this ever happening. We get the 2-for-1 out of Black Spear. It's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal, wasn't it, my man? Alright, so if we want to call ourselves the Hecarim deck, we have to take the Hecarim here. And boy, that's a Hecarim. And so if he's got to show up with the Blighted Caretaker and Everglade Collector, I'm on board. I don't like having 4 collectors. This is too many, but we can try and trade one of these out. This is our first Caretaker, which is a pretty big deal, though. But now, most importantly, we get to use the Hecarim picture on the thumbnail for the video, and so we're getting some of these caught up. We rarely draft multiple Hecarims, but it's okay. I'm not completely opposed to it. I'm not sure how that functions with the Rekindler. I think Nasus counts as a 2/2 when he's in your deck and doesn't become big until he's in play. May or may not be wrong about that, given the way that, like I'll show you right here. When we click on our deck, we can start with Aristocrat Caretaker. It'd be good against, should be good against like Scrap Heaps. Not so hot against Talia. But right, he always just shows up as a 2/2 when we click on him here. Like, even if we have 10 Slays, he just still shows up as a 2/2. So I'm pretty sure if we play the Rekindler, it's always going to bring back Hecarim if both of our champions have died.
I must get out of here.
But we do the whole interactivity package here. Oof. So you have a decision when this comes up, especially when opponents played a bunch of do-nothing landmarks. And we can play Blighted Caretaker and just bomb him. So instead of just playing Merciless Hunter, I think we just go in here and bomb him.
Everyone's a garden.
So he has to decide if he wants to play a unit and just take all of this, or if he wants to play a unit just to have it take some damage. He's taking at least 8. Doesn't quite feel like the card you're looking for here.
Run while you can.
Sharpen the blade, secure the kill.
Assume this is just gonna come into the escaped abomination. Could double exhaust this, right? No, thank you. No, thank you. Okay.
Arda's gonna make a meal of them.
I can't block. I did the mathematics on this situation. So, we can only hit for 9, though. I think I'm still willing to just hook this with a little. And there's no reason to exhaust the Glory Seeker. Good chance he, like, survives this combat, but I'm not really upset if the Aristocrat falls. Man, this dude just had the most awkward draw 2021, apparently. To imagine Hecarim's going to do a real good job of closing this one out.
Safety mode? Didn't build one! Here we go! I'll cut them apart. Face me!
Okay. I believe that's the thing that you're looking for.
The guru follows.
You like that's going to do it. Get the quicksand to stop any kind of whirling death shenanigans he may have. Nice. Got now. Not a real exciting set. I don't want to be adding boomerang blades. I feel like our top end removal is good enough between the two siphoning strikes, vengeance, weight of judgment, probably pick up a crumble, and then Nasus flipping into siphoning strike. So we can let that go. Let's trade out the naturalist for a 1-drop. On with it. Hey, Hecarim does his thing. Can't hate on him too hard, and so. I mean, we would have essentially won that game anyways, but if our play was Nasus, we may not have won that turn. The fuck? I think I've seen the cosmic board maybe once. I didn't realize it was so scary. Why's this dude spitting everywhere? Jesus. What the fuck, Riot? You're not doing anything until turn 6. How slow are you going to be? Multiple trundles, so maybe slow. Oh man, everybody knows how much I love a Faces of the Old One start. F this card. Oh, and of course he hits. That's about right.
They said I didn't have the spirit. Great. This round's on me. Give me a hug. There you are.
I do my best. It's like I'm trying to think of things to talk about, and it's just like the salt is just building up. Every time I see the mana tick up on this thing, it's such a not good ability. It's not good. I mean, it's clearly good for our opponent. I think that Behold, an 8-cost card without any supporting cards in the game except for Trundle, is a abysmal design decision. My problem with what's happening here.
They look angry.
Alright, let's see if this will shut down the Trundle. Probably not. I would say this is about to be a troll chant, but might as well go for it. And if he gets out of this with the 5/6 Trundle, we'll just call it a day. I can't play the pillar just yet. Have to Black Spear. Alright, 4/4 Nasus, what are you gonna do for us? Not real sure why he would pass here, but we don't have anything to do. We can't just like not play a card and pass. This at least threatens a ton of damage if he's going to keep trying to be overly cute here. Might be okay. I mean, I feel like this dies maybe half of the time. Thinking about shifting it over, I imagine he doesn't. He just doesn't have tricks. Coming. All right, game. What else can we get going on here? Oh, Feel the Rush. That's about right. We have to play against the guy doing hitting the 2-cost Behold and playing Feel the Rush. That's nice. No other way to put it other than just that's nice.
Shadows cut deep as any weapon.
This is your end.
Okay, so what are we gonna do here? I think our only means to get out of this is an atrocity play. I don't see where that play quite lies. We're gonna have to play it 2 turns from now. Unfortunately, I think this is all we can do is add the Collector.
Lovely day for a battle.
Maybe follow up with Nasus, and then see what we can't do the following turn. Can we trample with Merciless Hunter? Like, what if... like, make a... because I assume we're not going to get... It's tough, because if we want to attack... if we want to use the Neverglade Collector, we can get 2 attacks in with... or 2 hits in with Hecarim. I think that's going to be quite good enough here. But we can do stuff with Merciless Hunter, Mask Mother.
Gonna find a gift for Renekton, right, Arda?
Start with this.
I'm gonna make a U-sickle.
Trying to think if we can't get
To the king.
a Siphoning Strike. That's what this is the way we need this to go. We need Siphoning Strike to happen. So sure, let's just try to shoot this other thing. We got to count on everything here just to go how we want, and so if any part of this fails, we're just going to lose the game. Like if he has a Frostbite, we're kind of fucked. If he has Entomb, we're fucked. But this was our way out, right? With having a 7/7, getting an attack in onto Dancing Droplet, then having our 2 units die. That's going to be 9 total, and then we'd have an out in the we'd have an out from the Neverglade Collector
We'll
here.
get
But
our licks in.
Alright, let's do this. Can Mask Mother the Merciless Hunter. Still think this is all going to be short, but we have this atrocity in our hand. I'm not quite willing to just give it up. Oh, our unit doesn't come back for another turn. Yeah, we're just dead. That's what I expect to happen whenever you play against faces of the old ones and it actually hits on the second turn. So, kind of is what it is. It is like the high rolliest of high roll cards in the game, and I really wish it didn't exist. But nonetheless, moving forward, I don't think we're going to be flipping any champions here today. If we flip a Nasus, we probably already won the game anyways and don't need this Voice of the Risen. We can... can we ever get like ephemeral attacks for this? I don't really want any of these Withering Wails. But as far as ephemeral attacks goes, we have our Onslaught of Shadows that we don't actually want to play, 2 Stirred Spirits, and then Hecarim, so we can kind of get them. Let's pick up a Shark Chariot, I guess. No, it's like with a card like that, when I talk about like my problem there, with there not being any enablers for it, is like there needs to be some kind of like cheap card that doesn't force you to just play a deck that has a bunch of 8-cost cards in it. And so you're like really super high rolling in the sense that like, okay, do I want to make a deck that has, you know, 6 plus 8 drops in it or whatever you need to like reasonably get them by the second turn. To reasonably draw it by the second turn, you probably have to be playing like over 8 drops in your deck, which is just abysmally horrible and limited. And so with the only activator being Trundle, it's like when you see that card come down on the second turn, it's like, okay, you're either playing, you know, a shitload of expensive cards, you have an expensive card in your hand that you can't play until, you know, the super late game, and then, you know, are you really able to like manage this out of the one card? It's just ultra frustrating to see that thing come down and then actually hit. Because it's either, like the outcomes for you to make that happen are either, you know, A, you just put together a complete dog shit deck, or B, you just like hit a mega high roll with a card that would otherwise be 100% dead. It's frustrating. It's just one of those cards that it feels like if it's working for your opponent, it never feels good for you, and then if it's not working for your opponent, it never feels good for them. And it's like you never have a positive interaction with a card like that. So, I'm no game designer, but that feels like a really poor design. All right, we've got the salt out of our system. We can move forward now. I think I'm okay to drop Fading Icon if it trades with the bird. It's not good, but it's not the worst. This isn't like a board that just feels like a bank. Our hand is really awkward here. I guess we could have like let him attack and taken 3 because it's not a huge deal. Oh, no, we should have just waited post-combat, I guess.
Follow the tracks.
He's not playing dragons though, so he should be playing scouts, but he has Lucians. Oh, he could be playing 2 and 2. Okay. May get a pass out of him here. There's a lot of Shurima punishes as far as following up with a vulnerable. We didn't have him, but there is a percentage chance opponent won't drop a unit on a board like that. We're probably healthy enough if he opens on us here. I do want to play the Spirit Leech onto the Aristocrat, so we'll see what happens as far as him playing units goes, but falling to 16 is not that big of a deal when we have all these Blighted Caretakers in our deck. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Okay. Zed. All the shutdown tools for us. No attacks. Bold.
Another day in paradise.
You and I have met before, haven't we?
Had the perfect card at every turn of the game. Brutal. It was generated too, wasn't it? Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, ladies, the honor is
Okay, so I don't think we're gonna be able to protect our Neverglade. Nasus is too small. Could just add Hecarim. Do worry about him just getting a bunch of value out of this Cavalier, though. Let's just start with this. I mean, I feel like the way this game's gone, he's just going to have a sharp sight or something here and just completely annihilate us, but we got to have something go right, and it doesn't feel like just putting either Hecarim or Nasus on the board is the way to get ahead here. But I would assume he has no combat tricks in hand. He didn't actually come down and protect against what we did there. Rip Neverglade Collector. Lived 2021.
This is mercy.
Okay. You're one away, my man. You're one away. Where's Lucian at? He's pretty low. Okay. Let's try it with the Hecarim. My intent is to just exhaust down his Lucian.
You're covered.
We'll have to see if we got incoming concerted strikes or something, which looks like what we're about to get popped with, but I don't think we can pass. Can still hit it with the 5 Screeching Dragon and any other unit, so it does feel like a concerted strike. These Quinn decks usually have like 2 and 3 of them. What? Playing on mobile and you just misclicked it? Like, I had a feeling that he was playing on mobile given the way that he lined up those blocks and took forever doing it in the previous attack. It wouldn't surprise me if he just drug the wrong card down onto his Screeching Dragon. But for me, we're in a pretty decent spot now. Want to quicksand this, or do we want to vengeance it?
Honor guide me.
Kind of want to quicksand it just so we can get another unit down in the collector. Okay. Things are feeling delightful now.
I'll take him dead or near in love.
A crown guard
Tiana.
never falters.
The fuck?
Discipline
Ugh.
or death.
That didn't come in. Did not expect a Tiana to come down. Okay. See how we can recover. One way to go about it.
Lovely day for a battle.
Let's gain a ton of health plan. We are going to have to give up a Hecarim into Tiana, but it's okay.
I shall
Really?
lead the way.
Okay, at least we have a moderate answer here. These attacks are now terrible, and we still get to gain 4 health. But bring those epics, my man. Bring them.
Behold, Crown God's strength.
This attack is...
No farther.
If we ever still want to attack with our Hecarim into this, it's going to be one short of taking down a Tiana, but it does get in for an additional big chunk of damage. What if we just attack with everything here? He puts Tiana in front of Hecarim, a Tiana in front of Neverglade Collector. He puts another unit here, so we get in for 2. But then we get a bunch of drains. I think the big problem with this attack is we can put like Hecarim on the left, but then the Spectral Riders are going to be on the right, and then they're going to die before the combat ends. That's real close. Does he ever have to just like say block both of our collectors with Tianas to take them down so that the Spectral Rider damage goes through? No, because then he'd just be taking a shitload from Hecarim. So he can't do that. He would die if he doesn't block Hecarim with Tiana. So Tiana goes here, Tiana goes in front of this one. So we're going to have 1 left. So we're going to hit for 2 damage. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This buys us more time. We can't play both cards next turn anyways. So let's rehash this. So he puts 2 Tianas in front of these 2 on the left. He puts Egghead here, then that in front of another 2. So we're getting in for 3 damage unblocked. Then this dies, which is 4, 5. This dies, which is 6. Everglade Collector does not die. 1 here is 7, 1 here is 8. So we're going to be short. This is still a good attack. I believe the mathematics on that one were right. Well, this block is not good, giving us all this additional health and drains. Now, there is an argument to do it just to pad our health total, but this is okay. Oh, man. Especially if we just get to drop a Spectral Rider this turn. That might be enough to seal the deal here.
I'll follow where I can.
Only going to get in with 1 unit at best, and we have the Vengeance here still.
You are insignificant.
Doing this again. This does let our Hecarims take down a Tiana now. Can't get in for damage, but it can deal the 6. We have the mana on our last attack to attack with Hecarim and then just Vengeance whatever he puts in front of me.
The cycle begins anew.
And if this dude has another friggin' rally... You can't play any more Tianas. The Tianas are done, but... Those are the best onslaught of shadows in a while.
All things.
Okay, beautiful. We can get rid of this Withering Wail for Blighted Caretaker. It's good. Just keep her not hang on to. Spirit Leech, I would be okay to trade for Commander Ladros, but we have just a ton of late game in the double Hecarim Nasus, and we don't really need any more than that. Hey. Whew. Stressful, getting all those Tianas going. You play 1. Fuck. Second one? Now come on. Come on, 2 Tianas. Hey, interesting. 2 Kindreds, a Darius, and a Callista. I hang on to something like this. A little bit of interactivity with a good early game play. Dying. Yep.
What is darkness to the unseen?
Getting booped. It's not the most exciting unit, but
Arda's gonna make a
we go ahead and get it going. God, my man. Okay. Ooh, Phantom Prankster. Sure. Let's bring the thunder in here.
Wrap him up tight.
I will find someone.
Yep.
That's right.
I think this is okay like this. I guess it's one less damage that way.
This is folly. You will serve through me.
Not a bad board. Get our collector going.
Oh, fresh soil.
I care about this. What's this gonna do? It's gonna hook our 2/3/1s. Can protect one if we want with quicksand, but okay. We want to protect our fearsomes, because when we just ace this combat, we're going to be able to blast in for like 9 fearsome plus this 2 drain, and then also have an exhaust next turn. Seems pretty decent. Okay. Care about the Undying. Yeah, I think that sounds good. Let's protect our Bakai Reaper.
A duty fulfilled, a life undone.
Let's bring this thunder in. We're getting real close to having an atrocity kill here. So I want to this hook kill onto you. You should be unblockable. Might get in for 10 damage here. Have the potential atrocity kill. I want to kill the spiderling, so
Cycle is done.
if he plays like the one of the dudes that can bring a unit back to your hand, I'd rather him have the spiderling back to his hand as opposed to the Blighted Caretaker.
Freeze in his heart.
Still right in that atrocity range here, so getting there. We're getting close. Check the size of the dog. Oh, not right. Got him. Nice. Oh, good. Get ourselves up in that final battle. Let's see. We don't want Onslaught of Shadows, and we don't want to trade away our sacrificers, so let's get out of here. Don't need 3 siphoning strikes. I want to hang on to our exhausts with the Rekindler. That's close. We just have like so much raw power up here in our top end that just like having a champion dock, kind of sucks, but then the recovery is humongous if we have the Rekindler. I think I want to hang on to our 1 copy. Okay, so Merciless Hunter, Warden's Prey aren't going. I'd rather have Vengeance than the Ether Fiend, so we can skip that. Don't want the Ruination. Quicksand for Black Spear is kind of close. We don't have like too many Slay outlets though. Kind of like hanging on to the combat trick. We had a bunch of we just really have like the 2 Blighted Caretakers, the 1 Mask Mother, the 1 Spirit Leech, and then the Rite of Calling. Let's hang on to Quicksand here. Want 1 Atrocity. 2nd Vengeance for Stirred Spirit feels good though. We're pretty good on this late game removal, especially now that we picked up the Crumble. I don't think we need Rite of Calling in this kind of deck, so let's pick up Unspeakable Horror. Just get a nice little card advantage-y kind of removal spell. We're ready for it. Alright, so final battle. Let's see if the old Hecarim makes an appearance here. Makes us feel good about his name for our thumbnail image today. I mean, he's still strong. He catches a lot of hate, I guess. It doesn't... If this was like a game where the limited system worked, say something like it does in Magic, to where you're just getting like a random collection of the whole, so you don't really, say, okay, well, I've got Jace in my first pack, and so all of these future packs are going to be kind of like centered around Jace. And so, to that end, like, Hecarim is fairly weak, because this Shadows and Dust pool is fairly weak. This Ephemerals theme is not very good. But if, you could take, like, just the Slayers Kindred pool, drop Kindred, and just replace him with Hecarim, then he would be the real deal in Expedition, right? He's still a pretty good champion, and so it's a little unfortunate for him that he doesn't get his time to shine anymore. He's not the best top end in the game as far as constructed is concerned anymore, but he's still got a nice place in our hearts. Okay, not a bad curve. We play a little bit better on the odds than the evens, but we still have this big turn 4 play with the Caretaker onto the Cursed Keeper, having mana for exhausts. I think this could be pretty good. Arc Chariot. Okay. If there's ever a hand to make Shark Chariot work, I think this is it. What was this, Nocturne Darius Aphelios? Some kind of Nightfall deck with Noxus in it? Yeah. And a Vile Feast our Shark. Unspeakable Horror onto the Shark? What? Okay. I can't imagine opponent's draw is particularly good if that's the play being made today. Let's see, he's making all the big decisions here. Maybe he just said, oh man, I just Unspeakable Horror to Shark Chariot on the 2nd turn of the game. Better drop my phone to the toilet. It's not an accident, it's willing. It's the willing phone to the toilet play. Might have done it. Certainly seems like there's a lot of time banking going on here. Did you do it? Did you disconnect, my man? That does not make for an exciting final battle. Play a card. Play a card. There you go. We didn't rope that time.
We weren't expecting callers.
Okay. Awkward draw for our friend here, Kako Lorde.
peaceful once.
Okay. Played the ephemeral copy.
No more hiding.
Interesting. Gonna play the regular copy as well. I don't know. I'm not sure why I didn't play both. I guess you could want to bank that spell mana to get the dust petal going next turn,
Night
but
flowers upon my blade.
okay. Let's say what up to our Blighted Caretaker. Okay, so let's get this thunder going.
Fresh soil.
Have to assume that if he was worried enough to pop our Shark Chariot with an Unspeakable Horror, he's probably going to be dropping a unit here just to get hooked by a Blighted Caretaker token. And don't forget that, you know, the Shark Chariot's coming out here as well. Attack with these saplings.
Their scent travels on the night air.
There's a lot of Nightfall units we're really worried about here. Like, his best play would, I think, would be the 3/3. Ton of damage. We get the +1 on the Reaper, the 3 out of the Shark Chariot, hitting for 13, taking him to 6. Look at that. How you full screen this guy? Where's the button at? I want to look at the whole picture. They rearranged it down here on the bottom now. That's not Hecarim. Alright. Oh, things are happening. Let's get back. Okay. Need something to do, but okay. Not too worried about him playing ephemeral units. So the thing I'm looking at here is I want to Weight of Judgment the little one, let him do whatever with, or I should say the non-ephemeral one, not the little one. That'll go. He can deal his 3 with the Doom Beast, and then I'm looking to just Mask Mother our Blighted Caretaker. It's going to get us an additional point of damage in with the Reaper. Willing to just block this thing with our Escaped Abomination. Or do we want to just go like huge on damage and try to get him with an Exhaust? It doesn't sound that great. Short. Maybe one short. No. We're gonna be one short. Then we drew Hecarim. I guess he could make a stun play or something here, but attacking with Hecarim and bringing back Shark Chariot along for the ride is hopefully enough to just end this one. Granted, opponent did not have a very good draw, but okay. 6 units on the board there. It looks pretty good. Don't think is coming to mind that would just get him out of this. I think this is probably enough to end the game. Yep. Good game, my man. Good game. Well, sorry your draw was not good. If this was a in-person Magic event, I'd kind of be like, you know. I won't say it. I'll wait on you to say it first. But, all right, not bad, not bad. Glad we got Hecarim in there in the final game to be our route to victory. Alright, so yeah, let's get the LOR Guardian pulled up here, but, you know, as that game stands, it was more along the lines of a a Slayer's deck with Hecarim in it, as opposed to being a Hecarim deck trying to do Hecarim things. But if you're one of these people that just watches the draft and then jumps to the final battle, you'd be like, oh shit, this guy is playing a Hecarim deck, right? You saw that Blighted Caretaker into the Shark Chariot. We got a bunch of Shark Chariot attacks in there. You'd be like, oh snap, that's what he's doing. But in realistic terms, this is a Slayer style deck that just happens to have Hecarim as its Shadow Isles champion instead of something more common like packing in a Kindred and playing 3 Kindreds, or just having like Callista Nasus and then 2 Renekton's or something. However you prefer to actually go about it. But you could see in these games he's still fine. Again, I think I'm pretty spot on with my analysis of Hecarim, and that again, if this was a game to where you're just being shown like packs of random cards like you do with Magic, then Hecarim would be an all-star, and everyone would be probably complaining about how strong he is. But since he's in this weaker card pool, especially a card pool that really just wants to be the Shadows and Dust is really just trying to be a sparring student deck that pairs up with either Zed or Azir, Hecarim kind of like falls to the wayside in that sense. And even if you're trying to be a Shark Chariot deck, you're also just going to be looking to pair with Azir. So he kind of catches a raw deal as far as the game is concerned. Whether or not that's good or bad, I don't know. They did struggle with the Hecarim strength there for a while. I think he like initially costed 5, but then they dropped him to like a 4/5, and then there was something weird about that, so they kicked him back up to 6 mana, and then gave him the point of once he was at 6 and not overwhelming the meta game anymore. They gave him the 5 attack back from 4, and then once Call of the Mountain came out, I'm sure nothing else ever happened of Hecarim, because it's just like, oh, you could just play invokes instead of this dude and achieve the same thing with less less investment. And so yeah, he's still good though. He's still a good guy in Expedition. But nonetheless, I think the big point in this deck and the way we pieced this together happened right at the start, where we need to decide, okay, are we going to be a Shark Chariot deck and try to get those going and maybe try to pick up some of these Sand Soldiers, or are we going to be a Slayers deck and really be focusing on the slay ability and these vulnerables coming out of Shurima? And that wasn't apparent at pick 1, picking up an Atrocity, which is just okayish to do surrounded by weak cards. But once we got down into to pack 2 with Bakai Reaper Exhaust, we kind of knew that we were just going to be we were going to be a Slayer style deck. And so whenever it comes to those, again, I do like to call it out. The big cards coming out of Shurima are the vulnerables. So you're looking for the big ones are Exhausts in the 1-drop slot, and then Merciless Hunter at the 3. And then you're also going to be able to pick up Rockhoppers and Ruthless Predators. Rockhopper is, in my opinion, worse than Ruthless Hunter, but much better than Ruthless Predator. Still an extremely strong card. And then so that's piece number 1 you're looking for. Piece number 2 are the sacrificable units. That's going to be your First Keepers, your Warden's Praise, and your Hapless Aristocrats. And so that big collection of cards is what I really rank at the top end of this deck. And then I just prefer to let the sacrifice outlets fall to me. And so your Glimpse Beyonds, your Spirit Leeches, your Ethereal Remitters, your Chronicler of Ruins, all of those kind of cards, I don't really want to go out of my way to take those. I'll just accept some of them will fall to me in my deck. And so, again, the big thing is these sacrificable units and your removal spells, just kind of let the late game come to you. And yeah, pretty straightforward. It wasn't it didn't feel too different than our previous Slayers run where we tackled it with Kindred, but we did at least get to pull off some cool combos here with knowing that we could use the who are you called? We didn't get any I can't remember his name anymore. Stirred Spirits. We didn't get any these cool attacks where we vulnerable something and then Stirred Spirits a prey token, but it's something to keep in mind. Just some of these smaller synergies that you can do is what turns your deck from being a C plus or a B minus up to a B plus or an A minus. Just taking note of those little synergies and trying to get the maximum you can out of all your cards. So I do think that is going to do it for us today. Looks like we have a reward in the event pass, the Many Not. Just saying, never using it. It's not a cat. Oh man, I did forget. We did get the there's a Professor Von Yip emote that I forgot to set in our loadout, but that we'll have to remind ourselves for the next time. And so that is going to do it for us today. Hope you all learned how to hang out with Hecarim a little bit better. You learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.